Hello everybody and welcome to today's video on Romeo and Juliet, analysing the character of Lady Capulet. Download a free worksheet to accompany the video through following the link in the description. In this analysis I'll explore two different ideas about the character of Lady Capulet. Lady Capulet as conforming to feminine stereotypes of the Elizabethan era, but also, in a contradictory way, subverting them. First, some historical context about the role of women in Shakespeare's time. Women belonged to their fathers and then their husbands when they married, could not attend school or university, could not own or purchase property, could not vote, and were not allowed on stage. In plays, the female roles were acted by young men. And now specifically, let's explore the role of wives. From the 14th century, when a bride married using traditional Anglo-Saxon wedding vows, she promised to be bonny and buxom, which at the time meant pleasing, humble and obedient. When the 1549 Book of Common Prayer was developed during the Reformation, the wedding vows included a promise from the bride to obey her husband-to-be. In short, wives were expected to be obedient and subservient to their husbands, serving as hostess and helpmate, as Joan Larsen Klein puts it in The Woman's Part, Feminist Criticism of Shakespeare. Many members of the contemporary Elizabethan audience therefore shared these beliefs about the status of wives. But we don't need a history lesson to explore attitudes to women in Romeo and Juliet. The play itself contains numerous moments which tell us something about this topic. In the play's opening scene, Samson tells Gregory that women, being the weaker vessels, are ever thrust to the wall. In Act 3, Scene 1, after Tybalt fatally wounds Mercutio, Romeo complains of Juliet, "Thy beauty hath made me effeminate." In Act 3, Scene 3, Friar Lawrence scolds Romeo, telling him, "Thy tears are womanish," and in Act 4, Scene 1, Friar Lawrence fears that Juliet's womanish fear will prevent her from agreeing to fake her own death. A picture emerges then of contemporary men regarding women as weak, subservient objects of male desire and gratification. But where does Lady Capulet fit into this? Let's start with how she conforms to Elizabethan attitudes to women. In Act 1, Scene 3, Lady Capulet attempts to persuade Juliet to marry Paris, telling her daughter to think of marriage now before praising Paris. To Coyle and Peck, Lady Capulet is simply doing the work of the patriarchy by suggesting to Juliet that marriage is the best course of action. That's explored further in How to Study a Shakespeare Play, 1995, Macmillan Education UK. The audience does not see whether this moment between mother and daughter is instigated by Lord Capulet, but on the two other occasions when Lady Capulet visits Juliet in her chamber, it is at the direction of her husband. Capulet tells his wife, "Go you to Juliet ere you go to bed, prepare her wife against this wedding day," in Act 3, Scene 4. Then in Act 4, Scene 2, he orders, "I warrant thee, wife, go thou to Juliet." We therefore have evidence of Lady Capulet obeying the orders of the patriarchy. Lady Capulet does have independent opinions, however. In Act 4, Scene 2, Lord Capulet announces that the wedding day will be brought forward, but Lady Capulet thinks this is too soon, saying, "No, not till Thursday, there is time enough." Lord Capulet does not even respond to his wife, simply ignoring her and telling nurse, "Go with her, we'll to church tomorrow." This moment gives the audience a glimpse into the type of marriage Juliet is so keen to avoid. Lady Capulet and all wives had no power over her own life and no right to make decisions. Lord Capulet, knowing this, doesn't even see fit to explain his decision to his wife. We can certainly see Lady Capulet as the subservient, powerless wife, but it's also possible to view her character in a completely different way. Many people argue that Shakespeare was a proto-feminist. Feminism is the belief that women should have the same rights, opportunities and power as men. Feminism, as it exists today, did not exist in Shakespeare's time, so we use proto at the beginning to make that distinction. Scholars often look at Shakespeare's female characters and point to their eloquence and strength of character, concluding that Shakespeare must have been sending some sort of message about women and what he thought of them. Considering the restrictions that many women faced in Shakespeare's time, it's certainly a persuasive argument, and one that seems true of Lady Capulet on a number of occasions. For example, Shakespeare's use of structure presents Lady Capulet as subverting feminine stereotypes. The first time we meet Lady Capulet in Act 1, Scene 1, her husband wants his sword to join the street fight. Lady Capulet mocks him, a crutch, why call you for a sword?" Interestingly, Lady Montague also commands her husband, telling him, "Thou shalt not stir one foot to seek a foe." Far from subservient and passive, both women are presented as dominant and decisive at this point in the play. In 1913, the suffragist actress Jess wrote that she saw Lady Capulet as the strongest character in the play. That's from the True Ophelia and Other Studies of Shakespearean Women. In Act 3, Scene 1, after Tybalt has killed Mercutio and Romeo has killed Tybalt, who appears on stage? Well, there's Benvolio, the Prince, Lord and Lady Capulet, Lord and Lady Montague, and others. We remember that the Prince had warned the same group in Act 1, Scene 1 that the next person to disturb the peace of Verona would pay for it with their life, and Lady Capulet demands, Romeo slew Tybalt, Romeo must not live. As Jess points out, it is Lady Capulet only who ever demands the death of Romeo. Old Capulet does not utter one word in that terrific scene. This is a convincing point if we are to see Lady Capulet as the strongest character in the play, particularly when contrasted with the mute Lord Capulet. Finally, we can consider the staging of the play's final scene, again looking at who appears on stage. The lengthy stage directions tell us Paris, Page, Romeo, Balthazar, Friar Lawrence, Juliet, First Watchman, Second Watchman, Third Watchman, Prince Escalus, attendants, Montague, Capulet, Lady Capulet, and unnamed others. We therefore see over a dozen characters, but only 2 of them are female, and one of those, Juliet, is a corpse. Nurse has disappeared completely, despite playing such a key role in the play, and Lady Montague has died off stage. Only Lady Capulet is left, surrounded by men. It's worth considering just why that is. Literally every other female character is dead or unaccounted for. Perhaps ultimately Lady Capulet's fine balance of both conforming to and subverting feminine stereotypes means she alone can survive. Now, in terms of key quotations, an example of Lady Capulet reinforcing patriarchal values might be found in her advice to Juliet from Act 1, Scene 3, think of marriage now. You might contrast this with her mockery of her husband in Act 1, Scene 1, a crutch, why call you for a sword? If you found this video useful, please do subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. Everything I go through in these videos can be found in the new 3rd edition of Mr. Bruff's Guide to Romeo and Juliet, available through following the links in the description.